What if I told you some of the craziest, loudest, most fun motorcycles ever built didn't just fade away? They got pushed out, not by riders, not because people stopped loving them, but because the rules changed. And now, years later, people are starting to ask a real question. Are two-stroke bikes actually making a comeback in the United States, or is that just hype? Because this story goes way deeper than most people realize. Back in the day, two-stroke bikes were everywhere. Machines like the Honda CR500, the Kawasaki KDX200, the Suzuki RM125. These bikes were absolute monsters for their size. Lightweight, aggressive, and the moment you hit the throttle, they just ripped. There was no delay, no smooth build-up, just instant, explosive power that could catch you off guard if you weren't ready. And that raw, unpredictable feeling, that's exactly why riders loved them. No computer stepping in, no electronics trying to control the experience, just you and the machine. It felt real. But while riders were out there having fun, something else was happening in the background. Regulators were paying attention. By the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s, the United States started getting serious about emissions. The Environmental Protection Agency, better known as the EPA, began tightening the rules. Their goal was simple: reduce pollution, and two-stroke engines had a problem. Unlike four-stroke engines, two-strokes burn fuel and oil together. That process creates more smoke, more unburned fuel, and higher overall emissions. From an environmental standpoint, they were harder to justify. Now here's the important part. The government didn't just wake up one day and ban two-stroke bikes outright. That's not what happened. Instead, emission standards became stricter over time. And those stricter standards made it extremely difficult and expensive for manufacturers to keep producing street-legal two-stroke motorcycles. So companies had a choice: invest heavily in redesigning two-stroke engines to meet the new rules, or move toward cleaner, more compliant four-stroke technology. Most of them chose to move on, not because riders demanded it, but because the regulations left them with very few options. And just like that, two-strokes slowly started disappearing from the mainstream. Dealerships shifted their focus. Racing formats began to change, and a whole generation of riders grew up without ever really experiencing what a true two-stroke feels like. Now, don't get it twisted. Four-stroke bikes are solid. They're smoother, more controlled, more efficient. But if you talk to riders who've been around for a while, they'll tell you straight up, it's not the same. There's something about that raw, aggressive hit of a two-stroke that you just can't replicate. But here's where things start to get interesting, because two-strokes didn't completely disappear. Not even close. Over the past few years, manufacturers, especially in Europe, have been quietly working on something: a new generation of two-stroke technology. We're talking about fuel injection systems, better combustion control, and more efficient designs. Bikes that produce less smoke, use fuel more effectively, and come closer to meeting modern emission expectations. Brands like KTM and Husqvarna have already introduced these newer two-stroke engines in off-road models, and the difference is noticeable. They're cleaner, more refined, but they still hold on to that signature two-stroke character, that quick, aggressive response riders love. But here's the part a lot of people overlook. Even today, in the United States, most two-stroke bikes are not street legal. They're typically classified as off-road or competition machines. So if you're thinking about picking one up and riding it on public roads, it's not that simple. Depending on the state, you could run into registration issues, emission compliance problems, or outright restrictions. That's why you'll mostly see these bikes used off-road, on tracks, or in controlled environments. To be clear, two-strokes are not completely banned everywhere. You can still ride them, you can still race them, but when it comes to street use, that's where things get complicated. So now we come back to the big question: are two-stroke bikes actually making a comeback? The honest answer is maybe. There's definitely renewed interest. Riders miss that raw experience. Manufacturers are pushing new technology, and the industry is always evolving. But a full comeback, especially on public roads in the US, would require something major: either a significant leap in emission technology or changes in regulations. Until then, two-strokes exist in this interesting space. Not gone, not fully back, just waiting. So no, these legendary machines didn't simply disappear. They were pushed out by rules that reshaped the entire industry. But they never truly went away. And now they might be closer to a comeback than most people think. So what do you think? Should two-stroke bikes make a full return in the United States? Or are they better left in the past? Let me know what you think. This video is created solely for educational purposes and visualization. All content is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please enjoy responsibly and remember to subscribe.